Hey there. Today we're going to be learning how to convert customary units of length. Now the word customary just simply refers to the units that we use in the United States. And you're probably already familiar with all of the units of length that we have. We have inches, we have feet, we have yards, and we have miles. Now, in order to help us convert from one unit to the others, we're going to want to build something that kind of looks like a map. And in order to build our map, we need to list our units from the smallest unit to the largest unit, just like I have here. Now, I'm going to rewrite those across the top of my board using just their abbreviation, starting with the smallest unit, which is inches, followed by feet, followed by yards, and finally miles. So let's start with the two smallest units that we have, the feet and the inches. And you already know that there are 12 inches in 1 foot. Well, why is that important to know? Well, first, the 12 is important because that's going to be what I refer to as one of our magic numbers. And you're going to hear me talk about magic numbers in a few minutes. But let's start by looking at from inches to feet. What happened to my numbers? Well, my numbers got smaller. I went from 12 to 1. So that tells me that if I'm going from a smaller unit to a larger unit, I'm going to need to divide. That's how my number got smaller. And then if I went backwards, if I went from feet to inches, I noticed that my number got larger. So if I'm going from a larger unit to a smaller unit, I'm going to be multiplying. Now, how do I know what I'm dividing or multiplying by? Well, that's where that magic number comes in. I need to know how many of the smaller unit is in the larger unit. In this case, my magic number is 12. Let's continue building our map. If I'm going from feet to yards, I know that I'm going from a smaller unit to a larger unit, so I'm going to be dividing. And if I were going from yards to feet, I'm going to be going from a larger unit to a smaller unit, so I'll be multiplying. And the magic number between feet and yards is how many feet are in 1 yard, which is 3. Then if I'm going from yards to miles, again, from a smaller unit to a larger unit, I'm dividing. From a larger unit to a smaller unit, I'm multiplying. And you might not know how many yards are in a mile, but I'm here to tell you that there are 1,760 yards in 1 mile. So 1,760 will be my magic number. Now, you might want to pause the video at this time because you're going to want to write this map down somewhere, either on a piece of paper or on a whiteboard, somewhere that you can reference it while you're using or while you're making your conversions. So let's try a couple conversions. Let's start with 72 feet, and I want to know how many yards that is. So I'm going to start with whatever unit is given to me. In this case, they told me how many feet that I have. So I'm going to start at feet in my diagram. And to get from feet to yards, I just need to follow the arrow that takes me to yards. So from feet to yards, it tells me I need to divide by 3. So I'm going to take 72 and I'm going to divide by 3. 3 goes into 7 2 times with 1 left over. 3 goes into 12 4 times with nothing left over. So I have 24 as my answer. There are 24 yards is equal to 72 feet. Let's try another example. This time we'll go from a larger unit to a smaller unit, so we'll need to multiply. Let's say I have 9 miles, and I want to know how many yards that is. So again, I'm going to start in the unit that's given to me. In this case, it's miles. And to get from miles to yards, I follow that arrow backwards, and I see that I need to multiply by 1,760. So 9 is what I'm given. I'm going to multiply that by 1,760. 9 times 0 is 0. 9 times 6 is 54. 9 times 7 is 63, plus 5 is 68. And 9 times 1 is 9, plus 6 is 15. So I come up with an answer of 15,840 yards. Well, what happens if I need to make more than one jump? So in other words, let's look at an example where my units aren't going to be right next to each other on the map. So let's say I have 540 inches, and I want to know how many yards that will be. So if you notice, I can't just go from inches to yards without going through feet. There is a shortcut that you could take. If you know that there's 36 inches in 1 yard, you could divide or multiply by 36, or we can just follow the map that we have here, and we're going to get the same answer either way. So let's start with inches, and I'm going from inches. To get to yards, I need to go this way, so I go from inches to feet first, and I see that I have to divide by 12. So 540 divided by 12. 12 goes into 50 times. It goes into 54 4 times. With 6 left over, bring down your 0. 12 goes into 65 times with nothing left over. Now, the answer that I have here is not yards. 45 really tells me how many feet I have. So in order to get to yards, I need to go one more step, which means I need to take my 45 feet and divide by 3 to get to yards. So I'm going to do that. 3 goes into 4 one time with 1 left over. 3 goes into 15 5 times with nothing left over. So 540 inches is equal to 45 feet or 15 yards. Now, what happens if I have an example that has a remainder? In both of these cases, I had 0 as a remainder. Well, how do I interpret the remainder if I end up with a remainder after I divide? So let's look at an example like that. Let's say I have 41 inches, and I want to know how many feet that is. So again, I'm going to follow my process the same. I'm going to say 41 inches. To get to feet, I see I have to divide by 12. So 12 goes into 41 3 times. 3 times 12 is 36, and when I subtract, I'm going to have 5 left over. Now, that remainder really refers to how many inches I had left over. So I know I have 3 feet and 5 inches left. So that's one way that I could write my answer. I could also write this as a mixed number or as a fraction. So if I know how to write a mixed number, I know that there are 3 whole feet, and 5 out of 12, since there are 12 inches in 1 foot, that would be my fraction. So my mixed number would be 3 5/12 of a foot. Now, either one of those answers are correct. Just depends on how the problem is asking you to answer your problem.